Imagine a machine that was never meant to dazzle with chrome or chase speed records, yet quietly carried entire cities on its back. This is the Harley-Davidson Servi-Car 1932, a three-wheeled workhorse born in the darkest days of the Great Depression. While other motorcycles of the era were designed for riders chasing freedom on the open road, the Servi-Car was engineered for something far more practical: survival, both for its maker and for the communities that relied on it. Picture bustling downtown streets where small businesses fought to stay alive, mechanics needed mobile tools to reach stranded motorists, and police departments struggled with shrinking budgets but rising demands for order. Into this environment rolled a curious hybrid of motorcycle and utility vehicle, built with one mission in mind: to get the job done no matter what. It was part delivery truck, part police cruiser, and part cultural chameleon, a machine that fit neatly into alleys, parked where cars could not, and carried more than any two-wheeler could dream of. Yet the Servi-Car's significance goes beyond its steel frame and side-mounted storage box, because this unassuming three-wheeler reveals how Harley-Davidson didn't just ride out the Depression, it redefined what a motorcycle could be in America. To trace its story is to see how necessity shapes design, how authority and commerce intertwine on city streets, and how an overlooked machine can end up shaping a brand's legacy in ways no one could predict. Before we dive into the details of its creation, its police connection, and its cultural afterlife, do me a favor. If you're enjoying this ride through history, hit like and subscribe. And let me know in the comments which machine you want to see covered next. The Harley-Davidson Servi-Car 1932 was not just another motorcycle. It was a deliberate gamble to keep Harley alive during a decade when factories closed, banks failed, and Americans counted pennies just to make rent. At its core, the Servi-Car was a three-wheeled answer to a national question. How can businesses and public services keep moving when the money and resources to operate big cars simply aren't there? Its creation tells us not only about mechanical innovation, but about cultural endurance. The way a machine can serve as a bridge between commerce, authority, and everyday life. Micro story: the garage rescue. Picture a stranded motorist in 1933, a flat tire on the edge of a dusty road. A car was too expensive for a small-town mechanic to keep on call, but with a Servi-Car, the mechanic could load tools, a spare wheel, and supplies into the large rear trunk and reach customers directly. This was the Servi-Car's first magic trick, turning independent garages into mobile service providers at a time when every repair mattered to survival. That shift wasn't just convenient, it was transformative, reshaping how roadside assistance was imagined in America. Context digest: design choices. The Servi-Car used a rigid rear axle with a differential, allowing it to handle weight like a small truck. Its 45 cubic inch flathead V-twin wasn't flashy, but it was dependable, delivering modest horsepower with low-cost maintenance. The big storage box between the rear wheels was the heart of its usefulness, space enough for tools, deliveries, or police gear. These design decisions reveal Harley's mindset: function over form, utility over glamour. Micro story: police on patrol. In crowded cities, police struggled with bulky squad cars. The Servi-Car offered a nimble, budget-friendly alternative that could snake through traffic jams, park on sidewalks, and still carry accident gear or records. Officers quickly discovered they could patrol urban streets with greater efficiency, creating a visible presence that reinforced order without the expense of a car. This role cemented the Servi-Car's connection to authority, a relationship that would define its reputation for decades. Reflection bridge. What began as a Depression-era compromise was rapidly becoming an indispensable civic tool. Micro story: the delivery revolution. Imagine a jeweler needing secure transport for repairs, or a pharmacy delivering medicine. The Servi-Car allowed small businesses to expand reach without investing in full delivery trucks. For local economies, that meant more reliable transactions and survival in lean times. This wasn't just about wheels and steel. It was about maintaining trust in commerce, something fragile during economic collapse. Context digest: why three wheels? Harley understood that two wheels couldn't carry enough cargo, while four wheels cost too much to build and operate. Three wheels were the sweet spot, balancing affordability, simplicity, and load capacity. It also gave non-motorcyclists more confidence, as the Servi-Car's stability made it feel approachable to those unfamiliar with balancing on two wheels. Micro story. Inside the workshop. Dealers discovered another use, attaching the Servi-Car to new car buyers. When a customer bought a car, the dealership could send the car out with the Servi-Car following behind. The dealer rode the three-wheeler back to the showroom after delivery, making logistics smoother. This creative use gave the Servi-Car a foothold in dealerships themselves, spreading Harley's brand into unexpected corners. Reflection bridge. By solving immediate needs, the Servi-Car embedded itself into the rhythms of daily American life. Context, digest, cost factor. During the Depression, vehicles needed to prove their worth in dollars saved. The Servi-Car's efficiency, cheaper fuel consumption, smaller purchase price, and lower maintenance meant it wasn't a luxury, it was a necessity. For both police departments and local garages, the math was simple. One Servi-Car could replace or supplement multiple cars at a fraction of the expense. Micro story, small town symbol. In rural communities, where budgets were even tighter, a Servi-Car wasn't just a utility vehicle, it was a lifeline. Farmers relied on it for errands, shop owners used it for deliveries, and townsfolk saw it as an emblem of resilience. The sight of its boxy rear trunk rolling down Main Street came to mean help was on the way. Micro story, the adaptable identity. While born as a utility machine, the Servi-Car wore many hats. It could be a delivery wagon in the morning, a police unit in the afternoon, and a mechanic's lifeline at night. This adaptability gave Harley-Davidson a product that touched more Americans daily than its glamorous two-wheeled siblings ever did. And in that adaptability lay a lesson about survival through service, not spectacle. Context digest, mechanical durability. The flathead engine was easy to repair, parts were affordable, and the design was forgiving. Unlike more performance-oriented bikes, the Servi-Car was designed to be wrenched on by average mechanics without special tools. That practical durability ensured long lifespans, further entrenching the model as a trusted companion. Micro story, the street scene. In big cities, pedestrians often saw Servi-Cars tucked onto sidewalks, parked at intersections, or stationed near accident sites. Their sheer visibility normalized motorcycles in urban life, giving Harley-Davidson a reputation not just among enthusiasts, but among everyday citizens who might never ride a two-wheeler. In a way, the Servi-Car was Harley's most public ambassador. Reflection bridge. The question was no longer whether the Servi-Car had a place, but how far that place could extend. The Harley-Davidson Servi-Car 1932 had proven its worth on the streets, in garages and in small businesses, but as the decade rolled on, its partnership with law enforcement and its cultural symbolism would deepen even further, shaping an identity beyond utility and setting the stage for its most defining era. The Harley-Davidson Servi-Car 1932 entered its second act in the public eye when police departments across America began adopting it not as an experiment, but as a standard piece of their fleets. This was more than a budget decision. It was a reflection of how the Servi-Car could embody authority in a way that sedans and patrol cars sometimes could not. Its compact frame allowed officers to slip between congested lanes, appear suddenly at accident scenes, and project a presence that was both approachable and commanding. The Servi-Car became a symbol of order rolling through city streets, reshaping how citizens viewed motorcycles not as outlaw machines but as civic tools. Microstory, the accident scene. Imagine a fender bender on a narrow downtown street in the late 1930s. Traffic is backed up, bystanders crowd around. A police officer on a Servi-Car arrives, parks right at the crash point, and pulls equipment from the trunk. Forms, flares, even a tow hitch if needed. Within minutes, order is restored, not through force but through efficiency. This repeated image made the Servi-Car synonymous with reliability and official response, a reputation Harley-Davidson would leverage for decades. Context digest, image shift. Motorcycles often carried a rebellious aura, but the Servi-Car softened that perception. By attaching the Harley name to civic duty, the company rebranded itself in the public mind as more than a purveyor of thrill machines. This mattered because it built legitimacy at a time when motorcycle culture was still fringe for many Americans. Microstory, beat patrols. Officers in urban areas began using Servi-Cars to extend their reach into alleys, side streets, and neighborhoods where larger cars struggled. Residents noticed. To see a Harley-Davidson trike roll down their block was to feel connected to the city's network of authority. The three-wheeler wasn't just a tool. It was a messenger of order, reflection bridge, from garages to government. The Servi-Car was knitting Harley-Davidson into the civic fabric of America. Micro-story, wartime adaptation. During World War II, resources tightened again and the Servi-Car adapted. Police and civilian units alike kept them running through rationing, repairing, and reusing parts. Their simplicity and durability became assets when complexity was a liability. In an era defined by scarcity, the Servi-Car once again proved its design was forward-thinking. Not flashy. Context digest. Rival shadows. Other manufacturers toyed with utility trikes, but none gained the same cultural traction. The Servi-Car benefited from Harley's dealership network, brand recognition, and its early connection to police forces. It wasn't just about engineering. It was about relationships and visibility, things that rivals struggled to match. Micro-story. The training ground. For many young officers, the Servi-Car was their first introduction to motorcycles. Its stability made it less intimidating, and its utility proved its worth immediately. Some of these officers later transitioned to two-wheeled patrol bikes, carrying with them loyalty to Harley-Davidson that started with the three-wheeler. Reflection bridge. By becoming a stepping stone for riders and a solution for institutions, the Servi-Car's reach expanded beyond its trunk space. Micro-story. Post-war boomtowns. As the 1950s rolled in, cities expanded, suburbs grew, and traffic became more complex. Police departments still leaned on the Servi-Car, deploying it for parking enforcement, meter checks, and accident response. Its low operating costs made it the perfect complement to full-size squad cars in a period of rapid urban growth. Context digest. Mechanical consistency. Harley updated styling over the decades, but the Servi-Car remained mechanically conservative. The flathead motor persisted even as newer overhead valve designs emerged in other bikes. This conservatism wasn't laziness. It was intentional, ensuring reliability and simplicity for institutional customers who prized familiarity over novelty. Micro-story, the cultural double life. While police relied on the Servi-Car, businesses still used it for deliveries, creating a unique dual identity. One day, a trike might deliver dry cleaning. The next, its twin might patrol a city block. This blurred line between commerce and authority gave the Servi-Car a cultural depth few machines could claim. Micro-story, the parade effect. In community events and parades, Servi-Cars often rolled proudly with police escorts, flags mounted, boxes polished. Children waved at them, parents nodded with respect, and the three-wheeler cemented its role not just as a utility, but as a civic symbol. In those moments, the Harley-Davidson Servi-Car 1932 and its successors transcended machinery to become icons of local pride. Reflection bridge, its authority, utility, and visibility created a legacy that was now larger than the machine itself. As the decades wore on, however, new technologies, changing city needs, and evolving motorcycle culture began to push the Servi-Car toward obsolescence, setting the stage for the question of its final chapter. What happens to a machine so tied to civic identity once its practical role fades? The Harley-Davidson Servi-Car 1932 began its final chapter not in disgrace, but in quiet decline. By the late 1960s and early 1970s, police departments and businesses that had once leaned on the three-wheeler found themselves drawn to newer technologies. Compact cars, vans, and specialized patrol vehicles that offered more speed, protection, and comfort. Yet the Servi-Car's withdrawal from active duty revealed something unexpected. It had left a cultural imprint far deeper than its practical service suggested. What had been designed as a Depression-era survival machine had become an enduring reference point for Harley-Davidson's adaptability and America's resourcefulness. Micro-story, the last police trikes. In small towns across the Midwest and South, a handful of Servi-Cars lingered into the early 1970s. Officers who rode them often became local legends, the last visible guardians on a style of machine that was already turning into nostalgia. Citizens remembered the sight of the boxy rear trunk at intersections long after the trikes were retired. In these places, the Servi-Car became a living time capsule of mid-century America. Context digest, market shifts, the rise of affordable compact cars, along with improvements in radio communication, eroded the Servi-Car's advantages. Departments no longer needed small cargo carriers on three wheels. They needed enclosed vehicles that could protect officers and integrate new equipment. For businesses, vans and trucks with greater storage made more sense than a trike. Progress moved on, but Harley's reputation had already been boosted by decades of civic service. Micro story: the collector's eye. As Servi-Cars disappeared from active duty, enthusiasts began scooping them up. Restorers valued their quirky utility, their police history, and their connection to an America that was rapidly modernizing. For collectors, each Servi-Car was a canvas for preservation or customization, ensuring the model survived not in scrapyards, but in garages and museums. Reflection bridge: what had once been an overlooked workhorse was now becoming a prized artifact. Micro story: nostalgia on Main Street. At small-town parades decades later, restored Servi-Cars would roll again. This time not as police units or delivery vehicles, but as celebrated pieces of history. Children pointed, older generations smiled, and the machine that had once symbolized duty now symbolized memory. In these appearances, the Servi-Car bridged generations, reminding audiences that motorcycles had roles beyond rebellion and racing. Context digest. Engineering legacy. Even though the Servi-Car faded from production, its philosophy, utility, adaptability, and durability echoed in later Harley designs. The idea that a motorcycle could serve not just a rider's freedom, but also a community's needs, shaped Harley's image in subtle but lasting ways. Functionality became as much a part of the brand story as style and performance. Micro story: the cultural blueprint. The Servi-Car proved that vehicles do not need to dominate speed charts to dominate memory. Its success was measured in trust, visibility, and service. That blueprint, serving the community first, style second, became part of Harley-Davidson's long-term survival strategy in the face of market upheavals. Without the Servi-Car's example, the company's ability to adapt might have been diminished. Reflection bridge. The machine's disappearance from the streets was not the end of its story, but the beginning of its myth. Micro story: from obsolete to iconic. Today, when enthusiasts encounter a Servi-Car at a rally or in a museum, they don't see a relic of the Depression. They see a symbol of resilience. They see a motorcycle company that refused to fold under economic collapse. They see police officers who navigated crowded cities with ingenuity. And they see the quiet dignity of a three-wheeler that served without complaint for 4 decades. The Harley-Davidson Servi-Car 1932 reminds us that legacy is not always built on flash or fame. Sometimes it is built on persistence, duty, and the way a machine integrates itself into the rhythm of daily life. That is why, long after its practical function ended, the Servi-Car continues to matter, not just as a curiosity, but as a touchstone for how vehicles shape culture and identity in America. And with that enduring image, we can now step back and see what its journey means for ownership, legacy, and the blueprint it left behind. Looking back at the Harley-Davidson Servi-Car 1932, what strikes us most is not its power or speed, but its profound ability to adapt to the needs of its time. Born in the Great Depression, it was engineered as a lifeline for businesses, mechanics, and law enforcement, a motorcycle that carried tools, deliveries, and authority when Americans needed practicality more than glamour. Across its 4-decade lifespan, the Servi-Car proved that Harley-Davidson could be more than a producer of machines for enthusiasts. It could build vehicles that became woven into the civic and cultural fabric of the nation. For owners today, the reality is unique. Servi-Cars are rarer than their two-wheeled siblings, but that rarity translates into intrigue and collector value. Restored examples turn heads not because they are fast, but because they tell a story few other motorcycles can. They remind us that utility can be beautiful in its own right. For some collectors, owning a Servi-Car is less about riding and more about preserving an artifact that carries the DNA of America's resilience during hard times. For the broader market, the Servi-Car serves as a quiet but powerful blueprint. It demonstrated that Harley could innovate not just in styling or performance, but in practical problem-solving. That DNA lives on in how the brand approaches touring models, trikes, and even its ventures into new categories. The lesson is clear. When a machine genuinely solves problems, it earns trust that outlasts trends. The legacy also speaks to everyday culture. Many Americans first encountered Harley-Davidson not through glamorous two-wheelers, but through the Servi-Car parked at intersections, delivering goods, or patrolling their neighborhoods. That visibility created familiarity, and familiarity built legitimacy. The Servi-Car shifted the public perception of motorcycles from niche toys to civic tools, laying groundwork for Harley's long-term cultural standing. And perhaps the biggest takeaway is this: the Servi-Car reminds us that utility and identity are not opposites. A vehicle built to serve can become iconic, not despite its practicality, but because of it. It is proof that enduring machines often emerge not from chasing attention, but from quietly doing their job so well that people cannot imagine daily life without them. The Harley-Davidson Servi-Car, 1932. May no longer roll down crowded avenues or deliver packages to front doors, but its legacy endures in every collector's garage, in every parade where it sparks nostalgia, and in the very way we think about what a motorcycle can be. It is more than a three-wheeler from history. It is a lasting symbol of American adaptability, civic trust, and the quiet dignity of a machine built to serve. And that is why the Servi-Car will always matter, not as a forgotten utility, but as an unforgettable cornerstone of Harley-Davidson's story.